Welcome to the Hobby School podcast. Whether you're a seasoned hobbyist or just getting started, Hobby School is the perfect place to learn something new. My name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I'm your host of the podcast. But before we jump into our episode for today, the only thing I ask is that if you enjoyed the episode, please share with a friend and give us an honest review on your favorite podcast platform. This helps us get out the content to more people. I also want to invite you to get on our wait list for our next Hobby School Online Learning Summit. These are free to attend, and you can find the link to join at hobbyschool.com, which is also in our podcast show notes. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. And my special guest today is Karin van Mierlo, who is the founder and course creator at Photography Playground. And I'm going to be chatting with Karin today about how to tap into the mindful nature of photography. And Karin, thank you so much for joining me. I am very excited to jump into this topic with you. I'm not very familiar with mindful nature and kind of what you refer to there, but it sounds amazing. But before we get into all the questions that I have for you, can you tell the good audience a little bit more about you and how you got into photography and helping people with the mindful nature of photography?
Awesome. Yes, of course. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's really great to share this passion I have for photography, and mostly about the mindful nature of photography. I think it can be very beneficial for people. So I'm from the Netherlands originally, and I also had my education there. I went to University of the Arts, and I became a photographer. Mostly because I just really love photography, and because it's such a wonderful dance between what lives inside you and the outside world, what also between the things you can control in your camera, for instance, but also there are a lot of things that you just need to let go and go with the flow and see what happens and respond to that. Another thing I'm always amazed by, because I mostly photograph people, how people feel comfortable enough to let me into their lives. Like, for instance, I've photographed births, so it doesn't get more intimate than that, I guess. And it's such a privilege to be a part of someone's life for a little time, and then also to present them with the photos I made, of course, and how happy they are with that. So these are all things that grabbed me when I first started doing photography at school.
You mentioned that.
Sorry?
I just wanted to jump in, and you mentioned there that you had photographed some births, new humans coming into this world. Can you tell us a little bit about, I'm sure you have a lot of interesting stories. Can you share an interesting story that happened to you while you were photographing someone?
Yes. Well, I photographing, well, it's mostly photographing women who give birth. It's not so much about the moment the baby comes out, I would say. It's more about the couple, because it's usually a couple, and how they are connected, how they are going through this whole process of bringing their child into the world. So it's not very graphic, I would say, the way I photograph it. It's more, it's actually a really beautiful process. And, but I do remember the first time I photographed birth or a birth. And I was photographing, and the baby was being born, and the doctor took him in his hands and gave it to the woman, to the mother. And I just kept on photographing, of course, because that's one of the major things. But at the same time, I was so moved by this tremendous moment in the lives of the people in the room, that I was also I had tears in my eyes, and very emotional, and at the same time I also just needed to do my job, and that was that was intense. It got better, I'm not sure if it's better, but this was the first time, and the times after that I was not as emotional as the first time, because it's a big thing to witness a new human entering this world. And so that's one of my bigger stories.
Okay. So let me ask you this. One of the things that you focus on is the mindful nature of photography. Can you expand upon a little bit more about what you mean by that? And just what is mindful nature of photography, and how do you use it in your work?
Well, when you're a photographer, you cannot escape this mindful nature, basically, because I think that the essence of mindfulness is to slow down and to be fully present in the moment, and also to receive and accept that moment. And the exact same words apply for the process of making photos. When you're photographing, you need to be fully present in the moment. You cannot think about what you had for dinner the night before, or little worries or things, the past, the future. They're all they sort of disappear when you're photographing, when you do it the right way, of course, or the right way, when you are fully immersing yourself in the act of photographing, not when you're being a tourist and you walk through a city and you're sort of snapping away. That's not mindful photography. But mindful photography is being fully present in the moment. And that's the same is true for being mindful.
So let me ask you this. Do you think photography can help people become happier or more mindful in their day-to-day activities?
Yes. So I think photography can help in the sense that when you practice it in the way I just described, it will bring you in a state of flow, a state of mindfulness. And it also, that's what I find so beautiful about photography. It also connects you to your creativity. And being in a state of flow and being mindful and also being creative are all things people can do to reduce stress levels, for instance. Now, of course, painting can probably do the same thing for a person. It has the same characteristics. But what is so unique and also beautiful about photography is that it's connected to the world outside. It's connected to life. So, for instance, if you want to make a photo of a tree, you need to go outside and to actually do that. And so it's apart from becoming mindful, apart from being more creative, it also makes you active, as in when you're having a bad day and things sort of are not working for you, and then going outside to photograph that tree, for instance, that already is helping you to open yourself up for new experiences, to see your familiar surroundings with fresh eyes, and gets you out of your overactive mind and become aware of the beauty, because beauty is everywhere, but it's not always easy to see it, or you're not always available to connect to that. And that's what's so beautiful about photography. It's creative, it's mindful, it gets you in the flow, and it connects you to the world and the beauty that surrounds you. Another thing, what I also see is that there is this firm connection between photography and gratitude. And because you are actually actively becoming aware of all those of the good stuff in your life and the beauty that is there, and then you become more grateful, and gratitude is also very stress reducing. And yeah, so that's how I can think photography can help people.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any tips for somebody who wants to tap into the mindful nature of photography and kind of so they can experience what you just described, the gratitude, the stress reduction?
Yeah, definitely. I'd be happy to. So I think one of the major obstacles quite often is that people think they need a fancy camera, or they need all the technical knowledge to take a good photo. That's not what mindful photography is about. It's not about the camera. It's about, so you can even use your smartphone. Doesn't matter what kind of camera. Also, your knowledge of the technical stuff doesn't matter. It's getting caught up in the tech side of photography is not gonna make you more mindful. So it's about the process. It's about the being in the moment when you photograph. It's about observing, paying attention to your surroundings. It's about opening your eyes, and that's all a process. And the result, your photos, they matter less. So it's not good to harshly judge those results, or be perfectionist about it, or compare with other photographers and then thinking, no, they're not good enough. That's all very counterproductive in mindful photography. So instead, you should let go of attachment to the outcome, to the result, to the photo, because it's about being intentional. Like I said before, you cannot just sort of snap away. like you see a lot of people do. So you need to step away, step outside of your busy life for a moment and slow down and truly observe what you're about to photograph. So it becomes an intentional act and being fully in the moment. And it's also very much about stripping away the fluff and removing things that are not really necessary. So you end up with the essence of the thing or the person or the scene you're photographing. So this basically means that you should try out a lot of different points of view. So because if you change your point of view, you can decide to leave out things that are not really necessary. You can move in really close and only photograph a close-up. So it encourages you also to be very active and to walk around and to really observe, and what is that essence, and how am I going to convey that. And also print your photos, even the ones you're not super happy about, but they give you they connect you to a moment you're grateful for, or so print them and sprinkle your walls with them so you can see those mindful moments you're grateful for on a like a regular basis. I call this a gratitude wall, and I've had them in all my houses I've lived for like the past 30 years. Walls full of photos with moments I'm grateful for. So what that also does is when you see them, this sort of primes your mind to see these moments, and this can be like really small, doesn't have to be big life-altering moments, but like walking to the supermarket and discovering a really beautiful flower and taking a photo of that, and you only saw that flower because you opened yourself up to that. When you print that flower and you put it on your wall, then you're reminded every day to keep your eyes open for the beauty, because it's everywhere. So yeah, that's, I mean, there's, of course, there's a lot more to, a lot more tips, but I think these are the most important ones to start.
So, Karin, you gave us some great tips there. Can you tell the folks where they can find you if they want to learn a little bit more about how to get started with mindful nature photography?
Yes, of course. I'd love to. So, like you said, my website is called Photography Playground, and that's photography-playground.com. I'm also on Instagram at photography_playground. There's also a private Facebook group, which is called Photography Playground. So yeah, that's where they can find me.
And we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes. And you also have a free gift for folks too?
Yes, I have. I made a mindful photography playbook where I share tips, but most of all, I describe 5 mindful photography projects, or projects maybe a little too big a word, but prompts. So because the only way to actually benefit from this mindful nature of photography is to actually photograph. And I found that it's a wonderful way to get people out of the house and with their camera and start photographing when there's some guidance, like do this or go there, or so it's not that overwhelming. There's like a direction. So there are 5 mindful photography projects also described in the Mindful Photography Playbook. It's also called a playbook for a reason, because it's time for you to play.
And I love that. And we'll make sure that all 3 of those links are in the show notes so people can find them and get their free gift. And Karin, thank you so much for joining me. I enjoyed chatting with you about mindful nature of photography.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to sign up for the waitlist so you'll be the first to know when our next free Hobby School online learning summit launches. The link is in the show notes for this episode, or you can go to hobbyschool.com, and that's Hobby School with school without an H in it. Talk soon.